realized all of my past actions have put me in this place. Like, I finally took responsibility. I finally realized that I put myself there. And then because of that, it empowered me to look at the future, and it empowered me to change my actions today because it'll change the outcome later. I started to picture my son, calling somebody else dad. I started to picture some other man loving my wife better than I could. And I said, you know what, that could be me. I told myself, I promised myself I was going to spend a year trying to build a life that was worth living. And if it didn't work at that point, then I was going to take my life. So I decided to fully commit at that moment.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another amazing, guys, and very, very, very exciting episode of the Superhuman Life. As always, I'm your host, Frank Rich, and I just want to start off today, guys, by letting you know how incredibly grateful and thankful I am to have you here with me today. What an amazing story do we have for you? What an incredible guest. Once again, we're not slowing down here. Guys, I want to ask you a question. Think about this right now. What other podcast in the world is as versatile in their week-to-week episodes? What other podcast in the world can go from having a 9-figure CEO to then having a board-certified MD urologist and then follow that up with a story of a recovering homeless drug addict? Guys, that's what we bring here to the table. We do not fall into a single lane. We bring versatility. We bring insight. We bring some of the greatest leaders, powerful authors, CEOs, entrepreneurs, doctors, but also some of the greatest stories of transformation. And that's what today is all about. So guys, I have on the show here with me today, none other than Eric Rogers, founders of Rogers Fitness Academy. Eric is known to have one of the greatest transformations this world has ever seen, not just physical, but mental, emotional, and spiritual. At the age of 27, he founded Rogers Fitness Academy, which is an established and growing mindset, fitness, and nutrition coaching company. He's a born leader, influencer, and entrepreneur. Bodybuilding is one of his greatest passions, but there's much more to Eric than just fitness, and we unpack a lot of that. He is a husband, father, and God-fearing man, and he takes his freedom very, very seriously. He has overcome massive adversities in his life and has built a life from the absolute bottom. Homelessness, incarceration, extreme addiction, abuse, trauma, and suicide attempts. Eric is a survivor and now lives to tell his story and mentor to others. He's been featured in multiple whole trial podcasts, just like the Superhuman Life, and is becoming a well-known in self-development and mental health realms. His goal is to spread a powerful message. You are what you strive to be if you put in the work. There's nobody more influential in your life than yourself. Your attitude and mentality determine your character. Your character determines your success. The warrior mentality is one that cannot be broken, and discipline is the only thing that's keeping you from reaching your full potential. Guys, we unpack Eric's early traumatic experiences. We're talking very, very young, very traumatic events, and then how that led him to an early substance abuse addiction, the story of incarceration, the story of homelessness, finding fitness, learning discipline, developing discipline, becoming an attractive character to the audience, and now building a successful 6-figure coaching business. So guys, this is a story of transformation. It's a story of the power of God when you accept him in your life and what he can do for you. But there's a lot of actionable stuff for you guys out there. If you're struggling to find purpose, if you're struggling to find meaning, if you're struggling to create discipline in your life, we unpack all of that in today's episode, guys. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode with Eric Rogers. Hope you guys enjoy. Eric, brother, welcome to the Superhuman Life. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing great. Life is good. Life is a struggle, but we got to embrace it, man. It's
absolutely,
it's
man.
Yeah,
dude. I'm really looking forward to our conversation here today and just kind of unpacking your story and your journey that you've been on here. I mean, really your entire life. And I think that's what's really powerful about you is, you've had to overcome a lot here. You talked about some of the struggles or you'll get into some of the current struggles that you're going through. And, you've had to overcome a lot in your adult life. But, one thing that is, I don't think it's unique to you. I think it's very common in people that you see get into, real deep into the addiction or kind of into, that side of things is it always starts young. Like nobody gets into like hardcore addictions in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s. Maybe sometimes it does, but I think for you, you're a very shining example that, our upbringing and our influences at an early age play a role in the outcome of our life. So, Eric, if you don't mind, man, I want to kind of maybe go back, like very early in time with you and kind of start a conversation in the story there, like with your childhood and your upbringing, because I know that played a fundamental role in kind of where you ended up. So, I'm just gonna hand it off to you here, man, and really make this, about you and your journey. But obviously, I'll interject, throughout the conversation. But yeah, take us back in time, man. What was it like, for baby Eric, and how did those early years play a role in some of your substance abuse and addiction issues that you had?
Yeah, man. I could say that I was taught what this world was capable of at a very young age. At the age of 7, I was sexually molested by a Sunday school teacher, right? This person that was an authority in my life, somebody that I trusted. And so you can imagine the what that would do to a young child's brain. And it changed me, right? And I decided to take it in my own hands. Actually, a week later, I knew I had to go back to Sunday school. And this is it's a kind of a repressed memory for me, but it gets more clear and clear as I grow in life, right? And it's something that I've actually had to face, and it's actually something I never talked about to anybody until recently. And yeah, I'm just now getting through the initial traumas of my life that really caused and created the start of all of this, right? And so I knew I had to go back to Sunday school. So I decided that I was going to take things in my own hands. I always heard my mom say, "It only takes a cap full of bleach," and I know I know she was referring to the washer machine, right? A cap full of bleach to clean the clothes or whatever. But I took that into a literal sense, and I decided to take a cap full of bleach and try to poison her, right? And she got really sick, and I started to feel like a bad person. I, and so that's really why I repressed it. I didn't tell anybody because I was scared that I'd get in trouble. But what happened to me at that age is I saw authority as something that was corrupt, something that was hard to trust, and it changed my behavior around people. I became untrusting, isolated, what my family would call I was independent. Truthfully, I wasn't independent. I was scared, right? I was lost. And through that trauma, I spent my early ages, like I found pills at a young age. And
What age?
I was 8 when I first found like my mom's painkillers. And you know so from that moment on, I felt something good from it. It gave me a release, it gave me an escape, it gave me this feeling of confidence. And I remember this, like the trauma was kind of disappearing at that point. And
Now, were you aware about this at the time? Like, were you aware that taking these pills was masking? Because I'm assuming like what it was doing is it was shutting off some of this pain that you were feeling due to the abuse and maybe some of the decisions that you made. So, were you aware of like these pills are making this pain go away, or was it more you like the way that it made you feel? So, at the time, were you aware that you were running from pain, or were you chasing pleasure?
I was definitely aware that I was running from pain. you know I couldn't tell anybody, and that's what I thought. I was limited in my own head because of what I did to retaliate. um, and I had to hold it in. I told myself, no one's ever going to find out about this. No one's ever going to know. And so I found my own ways to mask that pain. And when I took that pill, I was just a curious kid, right? And it was the wrong place at the wrong time. I tried it and it made me feel good, yes, but it also numbed that pain. And then I wasn't like an addict at that age, but I was doing anything I could after that to numb the pain. I realized that I could somehow. So, I mean, I would drink a whole bottle of Robitussin. Like I would take 6 Benadryl. Like I'd do anything, right? And so I formed these traits, these characteristics of running. I'm an escape artist, right? Um, and in the meantime, I have my family, good family, right? I was raised with a good family, but I was different. I was different, and they didn't know why. I was just different. And so what that caused is a lot of turmoil within my family. um, it caused me to, what they said, like I said, they called me independent. I wasn't independent. Like I just wasn't accepted. And that was my own vision on it, my own thought on it. And then throughout the years of my behavior just not being bad, I was kind of just pushed off to the side, right? I was emotionally abused as a child, bullied a lot, and something that I've forgiven, but it's also something that kept this trauma really, really deep. Like it was just one thing after another. I felt like I was dealt a wrong hand, and eventually throughout my childhood, I got into deeper and deeper and harder drugs. You know, coming up on in high school, I was that kid, right? Cocaine dealer. I was doing it. I was hiding it. I was severely addicted to cocaine at the age of 17, and in high school, yeah, senior in high school, I started dabbling in that. Before that, it was just like painkillers. It was weed. It was and I eventually got my hands on coke, and I enjoyed it. I liked it, and the way I'm wired, maybe it was the trauma that did this, is I'm an all-in type of person. I take everything to the next level. So when I do something, I do it all. Like there's no stopping me, and I kind of see it as a way of trying to escape completely. And I have had suicidal tendencies my whole life, and I kind of use drugs to separate my reality from what I was going through. And so at 17, I got caught. Got caught with the coke. My dad was a cop, kicked me out of the house, and the first night I was out of the house, I was introduced to methamphetamines. First night, and I took that to the next level. Okay, so here I am, 17, addicted to methamphetamines, cocaine, started selling it, started hanging out with some of the most evil people I've ever met, putting myself in situations that were just extremely bad, started making really bad decisions. And it led me up to a point where I eventually went to jail. I went to jail. I served, not much time. It was my first offense, and I actually got out without a felony. Thank God. But after that, I got off the hard stuff. But I wasn't done escaping, right? I wasn't done. So throughout this whole time, here I am escaping, and I'm still blaming all of this pain on that person in the past, and my family and everybody else. The truth is that, yeah, I was traumatized. I was hurt. There's some things that were completely out of my control that fucked me up, right? But as I got older, I was starting to make the decision to keep walking down that road. And it led me into this moment. Like I met my wife, we got married. I was drinking, doing some recreational drug use, smoking weed. We ended up having a kid, and I just didn't stop. I took alcohol to the next level. And when I mean the next level, I mean drinking a fifth a night, getting completely hammered. 4 years straight, I didn't not have a drink. That all in mentality.
And this is after getting out of jail, after getting clean. Like you've worked through that, you've overcome that, but now you find this new way to go and escape your pain. And you start running to the bottle.
Yeah, really. I just the crystal, it caused a lot of harm in my life. By God's grace, I got off of it, dude. But I didn't get completely clean. I was still smoking weed. I was still doing things. You know what I mean? And so I just got rid of the hard stuff, and then I took the soft stuff to the next level. And it just got to a point where my behavior, I'm 24 at this moment in my life. I'm 24 years old. And I've been basically getting high and drunk since I was 8. And just a complete victim. And I couldn't see that I was part of the problem. I couldn't see that it was my decision. I just blamed life for this. And I see that a lot in the world. I see it. A lot of people can't really see that they even have a problem or reflect on their behavior and the consequences it has. And it led me to a point where my wife and kid eventually left. They're sick of my shit. They were sick of it. Thank God, though. Obviously, all my struggles, I found positive in all of them. And at that moment, I just decided to take it to the next level. Let's get back into the hard stuff. Let's drink more alcohol. I spent another 4 months just plastering my body, just destroying myself. And it was on the last day, which is the day that everything changed, that I decided I was going to take my life. And I decided that, man, like really looking at my life, like, man, I've just suffered my whole life. Like this, nothing's ever worked for me. Nothing good that came out of my life. I'm worthless. These self-talk moments where I decided, you know what, I'm done. I'm done feeling all the pain and I'm done hurting everybody. And so I decided to kill myself. And I took my pistol and I put it in my mouth. And, at this point, I hadn't told anybody. It wasn't a cry for help. I was sobbing, I was crying, I was slobbering. It was a mess. I was a mess. I was gonna pull the trigger. And it was that moment where something snapped. Something clicked inside of me. And I don't know what it is. I believe in God. And so I believe that's what it is. I realized that all of my past actions have put me in this place. Like I finally took responsibility. I finally realized that I put myself there. And it was the first time in my life I realized that. And then because of that, it empowered me to look at the future, and it empowered me to change my actions today because it'll change the outcome later, right? I started to picture my son, calling somebody else dad. I started to picture some other man loving my wife better than I ever could. And I said, you know what, that could be me. Like I could actually change my life. And it was just this sudden thought. And I pulled that gun out of my mouth and I told myself, I promised myself I was going to spend a year trying to build a life that was worth living, and if it didn't work at that point, then I was going to take my life. So I decided to fully commit at that moment. I said, I'm done with the drugs. I'm done with the alcohol. And from that moment on, I've been walking this journey. I'm 28 now, so it's been 4 years, and everything's changed. I built a life worth living, and the journey from there on has just been me facing myself, trying to understand myself, trying to see what I'm capable of, challenging myself to the fullest, and going all in on the other side, the good stuff.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. No, man, I'm really excited to kind of get into, kind of what some of the things that have been, worked for you in your life and now what you're kind of passing on and helping and coaching others. But I think there's so much that we can maybe kind of extract. And I want to actually take us back, to kind of like the 8, 9, 10-year-old kind of Eric here. And I have a couple questions, obviously, like we're not going to have an 8-year-old that's going to listen to this podcast. Maybe there is. And if you're a parent out there that is sharing these episodes with their children, we think that's amazing. But I'm just kind of curious, for you, you had said that you were keeping a lot of these things kind of, secret, like, you weren't really caught until I think it was 17 when you said dad caught you and that's when he kicked you out. So, it was a kind of a 9-year stretch here of you, like having some issues, drugs, alcohol, like from a very, very young age. What did that do to impact, your education, like your grades, your sports, like were the fact that you were keeping these things completely silent, like was there no telltale signs like in you growing up? Because where I want to take this is obviously we're not gonna have a lot of young kids that are going through the trauma. We have a lot of parents though, Eric, that are hearing this. And for you, the trauma didn't come from home. It came from somebody that they trusted. So where I want to go is what impact did it have on you keeping some of these things private? And were there signs that people could have seen early on? And if so, let's kind of talk about some of that, because there can be a parent hearing this that doesn't know what their child has gone through. So what are some things that we can start to maybe look for in our children to maybe get in front of these things, so it's not 9 years until they get caught, then we kick them out?
Yeah.
So yeah, what signs or what would you say to parents out there?
Yeah, I would say to always be looking at the behavior, and really how your child interacts with other people. I think that's key, because what happened with me is, well, really any bad thing that happens to us as people usually comes from another person, unless it's like a natural disaster, right? Most of our pain comes from other people, right? And what they do to us. And so if you see your child starting to become isolated, what happened with me is that if I look back and I look at all the sports I joined or all the activities I did, they were single person activities. I tried soccer. I had a hard time being on a team. I had a hard time being led. I wanted to learn the guitar and just play the guitar. Like nobody had to be with me. I was a wrestler, right? I thrived in those areas, but in anything that had to do with other people or being led, eh, I just couldn't. I couldn't take instruction. I couldn't take criticism. And I believe that being, seeing your child extremely sensitive could also be a telltale sign of them struggling with something deeper that they're not willing to admit. And here's the thing: is if you don't let your kids talk to you, then they won't. And this is something I learned. I was not allowed to be vulnerable. I wasn't. You know, that's something that I'm a father now, and I sit there and I tell my son how I'm doing, and so I give him that platform to tell me how he's doing, and I make it comfortable. And if he tells me something that he did bad, I don't punish him for it, right? And so really putting yourself in your child's shoes and remembering what you needed the most at that time in your life is going to make you the best parent. I believe that we become extremely skilled at things. We become extremely good at things by reflecting on our past and maybe what we needed or how we wanted to be treated, or you know, and I think that's important. So isolation, independency, didn't work with other people. Extreme anger issues. I've actually been diagnosed bipolar 2. And as an adult, and it's mostly because of all this trauma that happened to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, so that's more of a diagnosis. That's more of a diagnosis that has come out of a traumatic event in your life. That's not something that you were probably born with. I mean, is that what the doctors and experts have said? Have they been able to tie that to that traumatic experience?
Yes. So really just a massive amount of PTSD that hasn't been resolved, and that the anger issues was just like I couldn't be told what to do because the people that were supposed to tell me what to do hurt me the most, right? And I've had to build my own support system, man. Really, like
Yeah.
I didn't really
No,
have it.
yeah, this is powerful, man. So a couple episodes back, we had the founder of Protect Young Eyes, which is they're an organization that brings awareness to the dangers of technology, social media, internet, pornography with kids. And in that conversation with Chris, I was sharing a story with a parent that I know here, and they had told me like their kid was so wrapped up in this kind of gaming community, like he spent 8, 10, 12 hours a day, like headphones on, like in this fantasy world. And the minute they take that away from him, he starts throwing fits and he can't control his anger. And it's like that was a sign that this kid is addicted to these devices. So exactly what you're saying there, like obviously your thing wasn't technology, but there's a sign there. Like if your kid is throwing these fits and he's having these anger issues, like it's not that you have an angry kid. It's probably that kid is not able to process and handle some of the emotions that he's experiencing. So instead of saying that's a bad kid, or instead of saying let's put this kid in some pharmaceuticals or let's give this kid some drugs, it's like, no, look at this as a sign that there's something that he's not able to process in and of himself, and it's probably due to the lack of the relationship that he has with you. And once again, I'm not here giving parenting advice. We're just sharing opinions and thoughts. And obviously we have somebody that has gone through this in his own life and now is walking it out as a father. So I think it comes down to the relationship that you're having with your kids. Yeah. It's the most important.
Yeah, your child and every person on this earth wants to feel accepted. They want to be part of a pack. They want love. They want to be acknowledged, right? Acknowledged. And
yeah.
Did I say that right? Yeah,
it was right for me. I know what you meant.
Yeah, and when we don't have that, we'll seek it in other things. We will. And most of the time it'll be a vice, and that's really like our comfort zone. So that child, he was in his comfort zone. That's where he got acknowledged. That's where he had skills. That's where he was good at something. And you take that away, and now the kid has no way to process, and he feels worthless.
Yeah.
Right.
When did that moment of clarity come come for you when you realized that you were chasing these vices, that you were running to these substances for comfort? Yeah, I mean, I've talked about my own issues and struggles. I've never really like identified as an addict, but I've had some issues with substances and some things that I've had to overcome and unpack myself. But what was the moment of clarity, or when did you realize, like, hey, I'm running these things not because they make me feel good, not because I'm chasing a good feeling, but I'm running these things to get away from the pain?
Really, when I started to become convicted by it. So I believe that conviction is a sign. It's a voice. It's a message from our conscious, from God, telling us that you're chasing your desires, and it's even though it feels good, that instant gratification feels good. We always have this guilty, side effect to it, and that guilt. This is what I truly believe. It's not the drug you take. It's not the vice you use to run from whatever. It's the conviction that you have when you do things. And if you don't listen to that conviction, that's what's poisonous. That's what creates self doubt. That's what takes away your confidence. Because when you are convicted of something and you don't decide right then that I need to change this, that I'm being convicted. So, I mean, that's God, man. That's God telling you you need to change. And if you don't listen to that, there's
Yeah.
consequences. Deep, deep,
The
dark.
conviction is the changing of you. This is where I, what I do, and the work that we're doing here. I take, like, I'm telling these guys, like, your issue is not with pornography. You're running to pornography because you can't handle something that is occurring in your life. And we're not gonna, like, what I do is I don't take pornography away. Like, I'm not here to help you quit. I'm here to change you so that you can become the man that no longer needs to run to these things. And exactly what you're saying here is, like, you got to be convicted that it's not the vice, it's not the thing that I'm running to. It's me. It's my inability to handle whatever is going on in my life right now, that I'm seeking this easy comfort. I'm seeking this easy gratification. Am I hearing
Absolutely.
everything kind
And
of?
this is a trick, man. If you can obtain enough commitment and discipline to stop whatever vice you're using, and this could be watching Netflix, if you have the control to stop it, you'll be confronted with that limitation that was pulling you to that the whole time. And that's my message, is to get rid of the vices so you can be set on the right path to your purpose in life. We're all made for greatness, but I think the way that we were raised or whatever happened in our childhood really can change the game. A lot of children weren't aren't and weren't taught to be vulnerable and taught to explain their feelings. They were taught that, you know, when a kid gets a temper tantrum, that's not okay. You need to stop. Go to your room and cry. Like, I don't want to hear it. That really messes a kid up, because now as an adult, and I look around in my generation, people can't see themselves in the mirror. They can't see themselves. There is no reflection. They don't even want to look at themselves. They don't want to look down inside, because they were taught that that's not good, to hide your feelings, hide them from yourself, right? And as a person that wants to grow in life, your personal growth is everything, in my opinion. You want success, you got to grow as much as you want to be successful. And if you can't reflect on your behaviors, if you can't reflect on your feelings and your emotions, then you're not going to grow. It's going to be one of your biggest limits. And man, it's just, you when you can look at yourself and say, I have a problem, and now you can change it. Now it doesn't control you. Now you can change it.
Yeah, let's zero in on that discipline thing, because I'm right there in line with you. It's like discipline is it starts with a choice, but it's something that's developed and built over time. But I think you and I can stand here and we can talk, and yeah, you just choose to kind of shut the Netflix off. You choose to make the choice, that you're going to get this thing out of your life. Like, we both have overcome this in our own life. But I know that there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are hearing this, and they're like, okay, I get that, Eric. Like, what you're saying sounds really, really good. But let's bring it down here now to ground level, and let's talk, tactical. Like, how were you able to develop discipline in your life, and what are some tactics and strategies that you're now carrying on and passing on to your clients and students that you're working with?
Right. Number one, I was fed up. I was sick of it. I was sick of the life I was living.
Mm,
I was just only causing pain, feeling pain and suffering, which, you know, pain and suffering are important in our life, but I was sick of inflicting it on myself in a bad way. And so that was my number one step, is just being tired of it. I'm done. I need a change, right? I admitted that I had a problem. Number two would be to set a goal, have a vision of what you actually want, and ask yourself, are the steps you're taking today going to get you there? Right? It's when people hear that, they just hear this nonchalant, like, set goals, that make wins throughout the day kind of talk. It's not true. Like, really look at your future and look at the things that you do today. And I mean, if you're trying to be a successful person, you're trying to become a millionaire, you think watching Netflix is going to get you there? Do you think drinking every night is going to get you there? Do you think gaining 30 pounds during COVID is going to get you there? Like, it's that helps me thrive every day. But it's a daily thing. It's a daily decision. I have to wake up and I have to put myself in the correct mindset. I have to relive my pain from the past and realize that where I don't want to go. And then I have to look in the future and look at my vision in detail and see where I do want to go. And then I have to make sure that my daily habits are aligned with that.
Got it. So fed up. You gotta get, so fed up with the point. Let me ask you a question here, because obviously, I'm sure you're okay with me saying this. Like, you rock bottom multiple times. So I think getting fed up when you're like in hell, for lack of a better word, at rock bottom, it's a lot easier to get fed up when you're there, as opposed to the guy that's, it kind of got a mediocre life right now. Like, it's not horrible. He's working his 40 hours, blue collar job, maybe he's got, maybe he's 50 grand a year salary. He's getting by, they're living check to check, very, zero money in the pay, in the bank account right now, but they're just kind of getting by. That's a lot harder to get completely fed up, because it's an element of comfort. Sitting in front of Netflix 3 hours every night is comfortable. Working a $50,000 a year job where it's, it's there for you. You show up your 8 hours, you clock in, you clock out, you do 10 minutes of real work. It's comfortable. So getting fed up there is a lot more difficult, or a lot more challenging than somebody's rock bottom. Kids have left him. He's living on the streets. He's done, shooting, meth up. Like, so anything there in terms of, like, how does that guy get fed up, or does everything need to be stripped away and taken from you? Like, I guess what I'm asking is, like, do you have to hit rock bottom to be fed up, or is there a way out of it if you're kind of in the mediocre stage to then begin to elevate and start, chasing success?
Man, statistics say that, like, mothers and fathers and people 35 and up have a better chance of changing their life, and it's because they've lived enough to realize, like, one of our biggest fears is death. It's like, where are we going to end up? And when you can realize that I'm not headed the right way, maybe you want to have kids, maybe you want to get married, and you're getting old. You're like, oh, I'm going to put these major changes in my life. But when you're young and living that comfortable life and just making it paycheck to paycheck, yeah, I believe that most people have to hit rock bottom. And I believe that most people do in life. Most people do in life. And that's why I love struggle. That's why I love suffering, because we need it to be shown what path we're on. It pushes us into reality. It makes us think. It makes us realize. But here's the thing. They say, like, a genius is somebody that can look at somebody else's mistakes and learn from them, right? So be the genius, straight up. We were taught to be comfortable. We were taught to be safe. We were taught to be ordinary. And you're going to make it in life. You're going to survive. And is that what you want? You want to just be okay? Really? Is that what you want? Because truthfully, I don't think anybody just wants to be okay. I think everybody wants something in their life, but they just don't put in the work today to go get it. And so that's what needs to change, is the work, the commitment level. Like, you had your fun, get to work. It's time to build a life, right?
Yeah. So would maybe the process maybe be kind of reversed here for the guy that maybe isn't at rock bottom, but doesn't want to get to rock bottom, but wants to get the inspiration to change his life, is maybe get clear on maybe set that goal, set that vision, set that dream for the future first. And then you'll see, like, where you're out of alignment. So right now, if you're not where you want to be, maybe you're just kind of skating by and you're like, yeah, I'm good, man. I got this little thing going on. My job is good. Relationship, it's bad. It's okay. We're together, but we're not fully in love. So that guy needs to probably start by saying, okay, if I know that this is not exactly what I want, let me get really clear on what my future life can potentially be. And then in doing that exercise, you'll see where the decisions that you're making today are not in alignment with who you say you want to get. And then once you can clear like the things that I'm not doing today, then it requires like you actually just now starting to do the work. So how does like what's the importance of like just taking action, like not waiting for motivation? I think that's another one where people's like, I'm not motivated like you are, Eric. You're up, you're up at 4:00 in the morning. I know you're training for a bodybuilding show, or you recently did one. People are always going to say like, I'm not motivated like you. So what do you say in terms of people that maybe say they don't have the motivation to do what you do?
Yeah, motivation is shit, bro. It's shit. You can't rely on it. It's not going to be there all the time. Motivation comes after the work. Belief comes after you set the goal, right? I didn't believe in myself when I started this journey. I honestly knew for sure I was going to fail, and in a year I was going to pull that trigger. That's what I thought. It wasn't until I started to put the work in and see a result that I started to believe in myself. Then the motivation came. Then the belief came. I started to see what I was made of. A lot of people don't know what they're made of, or what they're made of. A lot of people don't know their limits. A lot of people, set their own limits. The truth is that we can go beyond anything that we feel we're capable of doing. And we have to challenge ourselves. We have to do the work. We have to take action in order to get belief, get motivation. And right. And discipline it's just a straight up decision every day. It's a decision. I am one of the most undisciplined people you probably ever met. And I could prove that by my past. I don't want to wake up at 4:30 a.m. I don't want to jump on the stair climber. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to eat 7 meals a day, but I do it because the ladder, chasing my desires, chasing pleasure, chasing comfort, caused this okay, ordinary life. And I'm sick of it. And I want to be great. I want to be one of the best. I will be one of the best, and I will do anything it takes to get there. So I've committed my life to that. I don't seek pleasure. I don't seek comfort. Um, and every time I do, I get that conviction. And that conviction, if I don't listen to it, you'll see I start to doubt myself. I start to lose confidence. I start to go in this hole where I become a victim, right? And so it's just important for me to stay on track and live a disciplined life.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. I think people are kind of shocked when I mean, I'm exactly the same way, dude. Like I'm lazy, bro, by my nature. Like my dad is lazy. I am lazy. My dad's a hard worker, but at the end of the day, he's a very lazy man. And he's not going to hear this, but maybe he does. He listens to every once in a while. But I love you. But you're lazy, and you pass that trait on to me. But I identified it like so discipline is one of the 5 core virtues or values that I live my life by: honor, integrity, courage, discipline, and wisdom. Because I know if I'm not intentional about it, I'll just lay on the couch all day long and watch probably not Netflix, but maybe YouTube now, because that's just an easy, comfortable life. But no, because I'm seeking greatness, and I'm seeking impact, and I'm seeking change in the world. It's like I have to be intentional about discipline, and for me, that starts first thing in the morning with not hitting snooze. Um, how did you get into fitness? I don't think we got there, because I know it probably came at some point through the recovery, and I know that's a massive part of what you're doing, obviously, with Rogers Fitness Academy. Now, what was the introduction in your journey into either the gym training? Was it in jail where you found it, or I can't imagine as a homeless drug addict you were doing a lot of weightlifting. So
Yeah,
where
no.
did you find that?
I found fitness when I was about 8 years old. Okay. And
God,
when I
okay.
was 8 years old, I had extreme anger issues. I wanted to kill, bro. I've had violent thoughts my whole life, and just to the point where I'd explode. And every time, what I realized is, I found pull-ups. I introduced myself to pull-ups, and every time I got mad, I'd go in the garage and hang on the rafters, and I'd do as many pull-ups as I could until I dropped. You know, I was able to do 40 pull-ups in one try at one point in my life, and it's something that calmed me, right? And that's all I used it for. That's all I used it for up until still today. It wasn't about looks. It wasn't about strength. It was about releasing something, and changing my mindset, and putting intentional stress on in my life so that I can be a little more tolerant to the bullshit outside in the world. Um, and man, obviously on and off, because drugs and fitness don't mix, right? So what I learned is that when I got off the drugs and I decided to take this path that, haven't been eating for so long, and, I was so skinny and sucked up. And what I realized is that, dude, there was something inside of me this whole time that I had no idea. And I started eating and I started working out and I stopped eating bad food and I started eating 7 meals a day. And dude, I put on near 70 pounds in the last 4 years of solid lean muscle mass. Um, so I use
But that seed was planted. That seed was planted when you were 8 years old. There's an incredible lesson right there. It's something I shared on one of my group coaching calls. I think it was last week because we're at the stage in one of our, I run a couple different groups, so they're kind of in different stages of the program right now. But they're in the stage where, now it's about kind of, start chasing your purpose, start finding what you were put on this earth to do. And one of the questions that came up is like, how do we even know where to start? And I gave the answer on the group coaching call. Think about what you used to love doing when you were a kid. For me, like there was a part of me like wanting to help and coach others. I remember like I was the organizer of sports like in the neighborhood when I was a kid. Like I was the one that brought everybody together. Like I wanted to be the coach. I wanted to be the leader of like these small little teams. And it's like there's no, there's it's obvious now like why I do what I do because I've always wanted to help. But it was through this process of me kind of finding myself and unpacking and doing all this self work over these last few years. It's like that came to the surface. It's like go start doing the things that you used to love doing. And for you, I mean, it's clearly there's the reason why your business has taken off and why it's exceeding the way that it was because you weren't forcing a purpose. You had found what brought you joy in your youth. So if somebody's out there and they're like, God, I don't even know where to like start to kind of like what I want to do with my life. Like think about some of the things that when you were a kid, before society plastered you with all these limiting beliefs, before everybody in your life had told you couldn't do what you wanted to do. Think about the things that you used to dream about, or the things when you were, doing fantasy world with yourself, like, cause you didn't have anybody around. I don't even know if maybe I'm a weird one that used to do that, but I used to have conversations with myself and kind of imaginary figures all the time. But think about those things like from your youth, like, there's your purpose. There's what you were put on this earth to do, is the things that bring you joy from a youthful play experience.
Yeah, honestly, I believe that our purpose in life is to be who we needed in our darkest times, right? I mean, that's something I live for. People are like, I don't know what my purpose is. It's like, man, what did you need so bad? Like, that's what you chase. That's what you chase, right? I believe our struggles are there for a reason. That pain, that suffering is there for a reason to build us into something that God wants us to be. But most people run from pain. Most people hide from it. Most people use vices or do anything they can not to actually face the reality. And when you can sit there and you can face your reality, it's hard. It's not fun. It's not fun. And I had to do it for a long time. 16 years of drug addiction and pain. I had to face all of those things, and I still am. But there's this part of your brain that you can tap into, and it's this alpha. It's this monster inside of you, I swear. Where, I mean, I can explain it like this. Like, I used to I built a chocolate factory once, and in one of the rooms it was like 130 degrees, right? And I had to spend like 4 hours in there every day, bending pipe. I was an electrician, and I mean, it hurts, right? It's uncomfortable, but there was something that I did. Everybody had to leave every 5 minutes to get some fresh air. I stayed in there the whole 4 hours, and what I did is I tapped into this part of my brain that enjoyed it. I was like, no, this feels good. I like that suffering, and it's the same thing I do when I get on the stair climber. It's the same thing I do when I get in the gym. It's the same thing I do when I want to eat junk food, but I choose to eat chicken and rice instead. It's that it's that alpha approach to doing the right thing, not doing what is comfortable. If that makes sense.
No, absolutely, and I mean, I can even kind of go even a layer deeper. Obviously understanding a lot about the brain and studying as much as we've done here in these last 2 years. The pain and pleasure, they operate literally. They're on this like in the brain. They fire from the same place. Like the same center is where your pain and your pleasure are. So a lot of times we seek pleasure, where we were talking about you as a kid, or you're talking about these guys that are running to pornography, are seeking pleasure because they can't handle the pain. What you've learned and what you've realized is that if you actually push into the pain harder, that on the other side of that, naturally there's going to become a reward, because it works on a pendulum. You can't seek pain without eventually getting the pleasure. If you seek the pleasure, then eventually you're going to fall back into the pain, because they operate on this pleasure. So I don't know if you knew what you were doing, but you've hacked it to where literally you've now convinced yourself. It's not convincing, but you've realized that when you push harder into the pain, that there will come a greater reward, a much greater reward than the instant pleasure or the instant gratification that you get from taking a hit, or from seeking pornography, or doing the vice, or eating the sugar, or seeking Netflix. That's temporary, short-term, instant pleasure. You've realized that, hey, if I push and I endure the pain even harder, that the greater reward is going to come, because it operates on this pendulum. So there's probably something you didn't even know.
Oh yeah, it's so rewarding, and it's something that you can't tap into unless you fully commit and challenge yourself and become disciplined. You can't tap into that. You have to be all in. I know people that are like 95% in, they can't reach that part of their brain. It's the people that can commit 100% and say whatever that is. For me, it's like all 7 meals, my early wake up, my reading, my reflection, my meditation, my 2.5-hour workout. Like
So let's dive in there, man.
Yeah.
What's your day like? What's your routine like? What routines and habits do you have in place, consistently showing up every day, that are helping you in developing this discipline and seeking that discomfort?
Yeah, man, I have an intention behind everything I do. There's a purpose behind every single thing I do, and I think that's important, because life will get robotic. We're habitual creatures, and we'll find something, a routine or whatever, to try to become healthy, and it'll just become robotic, and you'll find yourself slipping off. It just has no meaning behind it. So I make sure there's a meaning behind it. When I wake up at 4:30 a.m., I don't hit snooze, and the reason why is because when you hit snooze, you're immediately seeking comfort, right? You immediately seek comfort, and what happens is, if you lay in that bed and you're just like, oh, I'm gonna stay under this cozy blanket, you're gonna be finding and seeking comfort in everything you do for the rest of the day. I guarantee you, you're not gonna eat all your meals. I guarantee you that you're gonna have a bad attitude. You're gonna be stressed out, and so that intention is extremely important for me. Get up, heels to the floor, right? And then I remember why I'm here. Bro, I ain't here for me. This isn't about me anymore. This is about the people that follow me. This is about showing and proving to people that no matter how far you fall in life, or where you're at, or how hard it is, doesn't matter if you're successful in having a bad marriage, or you're a drug addict and homeless, there's hope. And I'm that hope. I'm showing that. So I get up for the intention of them. Like, and when the intention is you and your desires and what you want, maybe you want to make money or whatever, you want to build a business, you're going to skip days. You will. I guarantee it. But you want to fully commit, make it about them. Make it about somebody you love. And, then I get straight into my fasted cardio. I hit 30 minutes as hard as I can, hoodie on, and I just feel it. I sit there and my skin's crawling. It's that first sweat of the day. It's hot in the house. It's winter, the heater's on, and I start pouring sweat, and I want to get off, right? My body's like, nah, you're good, bro. You look fine. Like, you don't need to do this anymore, right? But I'll push through that. I always push through. If I feel like giving up, I'll throw another 10 minutes on it. And I do that because that's what I would call pushing through suffering, pushing through pain. And what that does to you is it rewires your brain to react to stress, to react to chaos differently. Like, I don't react, bro. Like, because I have this structure and intention beyond my routine, when tests happen, when things happen, when people yell at me or people try to upset me, it doesn't affect me, dude. It doesn't. I have gained complete control over my attitude, my energy, and my emotions. Obviously, I'm not perfect, and I slip up, and I'll admit that. And I always apologize when I do. But coming from a kid that was extremely angry all the time, and it couldn't, just had no barrier, no gate. The floodgates open no matter what. Now I keep them shut and process these thoughts and emotions in my head, and not react to them. So therefore there's no consequences and I just move forward, right? Um, Reflection, I look at my behavior from the day before every day and I figure out what I could work on, and I make the intention to change that today. I write. I mean, my content is everything. I make content and I make amazing content. You know, it's something I'm very proud of. I tap into this emotional side of my life, of my past, and I create value for other people. Um, you know, and I try to tap into parts of their head that they maybe haven't seen or felt, but that are there to help them through their days. Um,
Yeah, if you can, Eric, here, talk about that, man, because I think there's something really, really powerful here. Like if you have something that maybe you're ashamed of in the past, or you feel like there's a decision that you made that is holding you back from really succeeding or progressing forward, it's my advice. The quickest way to get over that is to talk about it. Like talk about it. You don't have to go publicly on a podcast. I think it's incredible what you're doing now. But I mean, this is a story of this podcast. Like it started 2.5 years ago with, I just wanted to tell the world, hey, I identified 3 months ago that I had a major porn problem and I got it out, and this is what's happened to me. And it's turned into now, I mean, one of the top podcasts in the, top 100 podcasts. We've interviewed some of the most brilliant, intelligent minds in the world, neuroscience, biohacking. Like it's just been incredible what it's done. And out of that has come an entirely now new 6-figure coaching business. So it's been incredible, but none of it would have happened if I didn't start talking about some of the decisions that I made that I thought maybe would hold me back. So what has that done for you? Just talking about, hey, I'm not perfect. I made a lot of dumb decisions. Like, what has that done in freeing you from your past, or making you an attractive character to the audience and people that you're resonating with?
yeah, a lot of people trust me. You know, a lot of people can trust me. I used to be one of the most untrustworthy people on this planet, and now I'm one of the most trusting. I'm, I'm a good influence, not a bad influence anymore. And what it does, truthfully, and the reason why I do it is because it's the highest point of accountability. Man, if you speak to the public about what you're trying to fix or what you're struggling with, what you struggled with, and you're the type of person with integrity that practices what you preach, you ain't gonna slip. Like it empowers you that much more to go that much harder and commit that much more. And so that's a really big reason why I do it. Truthfully, there's been consequences with being vulnerable too. That's something everybody should know. There are consequences, but and there's a lot of hardships. You'll even feel guilt. You'll feel shame when you do. But that's the best way to truly face yourself and understand yourself. If you can get through that and just keep continuing to use your story, use your past, use your struggles to build this future that you are working towards, you'll be rewarded. My family no longer really talks to me that much because, yeah, obviously the things I talk about, right? And so there's been consequences with it. But truthfully, anything that doesn't want to be a part of my life and my journey and my story and what I'm doing now, they can't be, right? I don't let because I'm vulnerable. Wait, no outside source, no external source has control over me anymore.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry to hear that, man. Because I've experienced probably the complete opposite. Like when I actually started being honest and not lying and hiding things, it's like I feel closer to my family now than I did in the past. And obviously that they've accepted me, so I'm very sorry you had to go through that. I don't look at that as a reflection of you or what you've done. I don't know your family, and I'm not here saying anything personally about anything, but I see that as a reflection of just themselves. So I want to encourage you to obviously keep doing what you are doing.
Man, you're going to face things that like life's gonna try to tell you to quit. Like the more good you try to spread in this world, the more crucifixion you're gonna get back. Like this world does not accept good. It doesn't accept you trying to change their thoughts and ways. It doesn't. People do not like vulnerability, especially when they're tied to the back end of it. And what these tests have taught me is that it's my purpose on this earth was to go through all of this so I could tell my story. That's it. I don't care who likes me. I don't care what anyone thinks. I don't care. I'm here to tell my story, and I'm going to say it all. I'm not going to leave anything out. And I actually have in the past because I've been afraid of, what my family would say, or, You know, they basically think I'm betraying them. Truthfully, I'm helping. I'm helping so many people, and that's why I'm here.
What has this entire journey done to your faith? I know you're raised Christian. Obviously, the beginning of the story started, in a Sunday school, incident. I can't imagine though, like on the streets, like doing meth and over that stage of your life, you probably didn't really have a close relationship with God, but it's something that you've talked about here a handful of times. It's something you put on your bio. I've heard you talk about it other times as well. Like now the relationship that you do have it with God. So yeah, what's that been like? What's that journey with your own personal faith, and where does that kind of fall in your life, currently today?
Yeah. Well, obviously, throughout those years of doing hard drugs and stuff, I always believed in God, but when you're doing that stuff and you're running from reality constantly, like you're pushing away God.
You're disconnected. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
you're pushing away God. I still loved him, but I didn't want to talk to him, right? And but that moment where I decided to change my life from that moment on, God's the only thing that got me here. You know what I mean? Like my relationship with God is so strong right now. And it's truly because I ask him, please like strengthen me, get me through this that I'm going through so that I can use it as a teaching tool for everybody else. Speak through me, guide me. Um, and what happened is as I've built my message, I've actually started reading scriptures a lot more. And this is quite a trip. I started reading like the book of James and realizing that the Bible preaches what I preach. And I'm like, whoa. And then I listened to someone say once that isn't it crazy that these motivational speakers are just like they're speaking a Christian message, but they're not putting God on the altar, right? Or they're not the altar, but they're not putting God as the reason behind it. Really, like everything good in life is God, right? And we all know that God is good. Everything good is God. And so trying to better your life, you'll realize that the same message is written inside the Bible. And what I started to realize is that like Jesus was the most disciplined man that ever walked this earth, right? And talks about leaving your human desires, picking up the cross and following him, and this sacrifice, this commitment, this discipline that you have, it's obedience to God. And so because I've been extremely disciplined, I see it now clearly that I'm actually just being obedient. I'm being obedient and I'm listening to my conscience and I'm following this path that God wants me to be on. And because of that, man, all my doubt goes away. All my fear
Yeah.
goes away.
I got a book I'm going to send you.
All right.
What you just shared there is, he's one of my best friends in the world, and he's my spiritual mentor. He was there with me the day I was saved, October 22nd, 2018. Josh Cachadorian. He wrote the book called The Standard, and it's discovering Jesus as a standard of masculinity. But the intro to the book, he highlights exactly what you just shared. I think one of the things for me, like when I was ready to accept Christ, like I was ready. I was like, because here's the thing, Eric, like I knew that I had questions going back to when I was 15 years old. That's why I started reading Tony Robbins books when I was in high school. So for 20 years before becoming a Christian, I had read hundreds, if not thousands, of self-development books, which, like you said, are sharing the message of the Bible, but they've pulled Christianity out, they pulled Jesus out of it. But the core message, the core principles are what's taught in the good book. Like they are biblical. But now I've understand is like, let's just give this credit where it's supposed to go. Let's understand that there is an ultimate source of truth, and that's God, and Christ is God in human form. But the book talks about all of that, dude. And you're not the first one that's talked about it, because obviously I had Josh on the podcast, but the fact that you're bringing this and like you didn't even read his book, I didn't know that we were going to go there today, but I definitely I'm gonna get you a copy of Josh's book, man. So after today, we'll link up and make sure I get I get your address, because I think it's gonna help you and just even continuing to spread this message and get more clear on everything for who you are and what your purpose is, man. Dude, this has been an incredible conversation. I really appreciate just your openness and vulnerability and willingness to share what you've gone through. So we have a question we like to end every single podcast here, but I haven't really given you a chance to really talk about your coaching and what it is you're doing. So, take a minute or two here and kind of talk about Rogers Fitness Academy, what it is you guys do, who you serve, where people can connect with you online, and then we'll finish up with the final question here, Eric.
Okay. Yeah. One of the biggest things that helped me through my journey of becoming better was fitness and nutrition. It wasn't just the fitness and nutrition, it was the discipline that it took to dial those things in. And what I realized is that when you put work into your body and it's the correct plan, you start to see a result. And what that gives you hope that if you put in work, you're going to see a result, and then you can start to reflect that in other parts of your life. And so what I do is I help people tap into a different part of their brain and their life that they have not yet seeked. Maybe someone is lacking drive, maybe someone's lacking motivation, maybe someone's overweight, maybe maybe somebody's depressed or addicted or just at a glass ceiling in their business. What happens is when you join a program like mine, we set a challenge and a goal. All your limitations and all your weaknesses will start to arise. They'll start to surface in your life. And those are the things that'll keep you from eating all your meals and doing your workouts. And you'll start to see, wow, I have to get rid of these things. And so it gives you just a clear path of, what to take out of your life, what to put into your life. And you start to, some of my clients have quadrupled their income in my program just by becoming extremely confident and going all in and becoming committed. Of lost, losing 50, 60 pounds in 3 months, some crazy stuff. If the intention is just to come in and get fit, that's awesome. Let's do it, right? I'm really good at that. Let's get you ripped up so you feel better about yourself. But if your intention is to strengthen the mind, that's really what I'm in it for. So mentality, fitness, and nutrition online coach, and I help anybody and everybody. So
I love that. Yeah, no, one of my well, he's still a business mentor, but the first coach I hired back in 2017 when I went online with my fitness business was people are going to come to you for fitness advice, but they're going to stick around for the life advice. So I like that you've already integrated that into everything that you're doing, because I think the body is like a very small portion of really what we're doing. I was definitely somebody that chased building physical greatness for a really long time, and I remember 2015, the best look I had. I placed third in the WBFF World Championship. I was miserable. Like I had no spiritual connection. I didn't really understand my emotionally. I looked amazing. Like I achieved a look in a stature physique that most people would never even dream about doing. But I didn't go as far as like putting a pistol in my mouth. But I definitely, was at a stage where like it could have all ended right then and there. And I'm not sure I would have really been too upset about it. So I think that there's a lot more to this life. I think there's a lot more to our health and just the way that we look. So I love that you bring all of that into your coaching. Where can people connect with you online, Eric? Where are you hanging out socially? Where can they learn more about your coaching if they're interested?
Follow me on Instagram. It's _Eric Rogers. I'm really good at responding to messages, and I love when people talk to me. So come follow me. I put a lot of good stuff in my story. I show you that I practice what I preach, and I'm grinding every day. My posts are very motivational. I'll help you guys a lot. So follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. And I'm sure he'll put some links under for whatever. And then if you guys are interested in coaching, go to rogersfitnessacademy.com and just apply, and we'll set up a free call, and just talk about your goals. That's my main thing. I'm only going to help the people I can help. And, room is limited. So it's an application process. And I want go-getters. I want driven individuals, but I want people that, need help. And I've helped over 200 people in the last year and a half change their entire lives and bodies to a completely different thing. So yeah, that's it.
Amazing, brother. Congrats, man. I know you're succeeding and just getting started, man. I'm looking forward to watching you and seeing this thing continue to grow. So yeah, guys, we'll get that Instagram. We'll get the Rogers Fitness Academy link drop down there in the show notes or in the description if you're watching here on iTunes. Or watching on YouTube. Eric, so brother, we end every single episode with the same question. Obviously, the title of our show is The Superhuman Life. For me, when I talk about living a superhuman life, it's more of it's a belief. It's a way that I try to show up and operate every single day in the world. And it's coming from, the perspective or worldview or belief system that we all were put on this earth for a purpose. So each one of us was created with a divine calling on our life. But that's just not enough. Like we are now have a job that we're required to do here. It's training ourselves, it's building our physical, fully harnessing and developing this vessel, but then also the emotional, the mental side of things. So for me, living a superhuman life is when you understand your purpose, but then you're taking aggressive, consistent daily action on a daily basis in the flesh. So that's what I talk about when I'm living a superhuman life. But I like to get the guest take here. So Eric Rogers, as we bring today home, how would you define living a superhuman life?
Living a superhuman life is accepting that you're going to have struggle. You're going to have darkness. And it's what you do with that darkness that matters. It's how you react to certain emotions or struggles in your life that matters, because honestly, it doesn't have to affect you. And if you get to this point where you are so confident and controlled that life gets chaotic and stressful around you, but you don't change. Everything changes around you, but you don't change. Nothing changes. You keep going, you keep pushing. That, in my opinion, is a superhuman life.
Love that. Guys, you heard it here. Seek the pain, seek the discomfort. Inside of your darkness are probably the vast majority of the answers that you're looking for. So for Eric Rogers, Frank Rich, guys, we love you. If you want to grow or you want to help us and support this mission in this show, you can help us in one of two ways. First off, make sure to leave us a 5-star rating and written review if you found value out of these conversations. But more importantly, if there's somebody in your life that needs to hear this, maybe somebody's going through a dark period, maybe somebody needs to wake up, maybe they need to start taking action before they do hit that rock bottom moment, do us a favor and do them the blessing by sharing this conversation with them. But for Eric Rogers, Frank Rich, we love you guys. We'll see you next week.